Hello and welcome back to Suspended Fanimation. I'm your host, Dennis Bithoulkas. And God, I swear to God, YouTube sucks. Welcome back to Suspended Fanimation. I'm your host, Dennis Bithoulkas. And it's time for the Book of Boba Fett, Season 1, Episode 4, Chapter 4, The Gathering Storm. Welcome, everybody. Let me take care of some business first, and we'll get down to it. If you like what you see here, like, share, and subscribe. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, take a look at the video that pops up at the very end here. YouTube takes the algorithms of all the stuff you've been watching and tries to match it as best as possible. And one of the videos, my vast video library, pops up there just for you. And if you like what you see there, hit that subscribe button down below there. And if you can, hit that like button, the share button as well. And if you don't want to be notified when I come on live, you can hit that bell down below, and YouTube won't notify you, being as sucky as they are. So what you should do is go over to suspendedfanimation.com, take a look at the schedule I have up there. I change it out every week. Also have all the links to my social media on there and all the links to my pages as well. Hello, Cheryl. Good evening. All right, so let's get to it, shall we? Spoiler alert, I am going to spoil the episode. If you have not seen the episode, go and watch it. Come on back. This will be a video. You can comment down below in the comment section. All righty. Giving you enough time to hit the pause button. Doing all that good stuff. All right. There we go. So a better episode than the episode 3. That's by far. It really was. Not great, but it was better. This episode we just get to see what happened between Boba and Fennec Shand, how he found her, how he saved her, all that kind of stuff, what went into all of that, and also moved a little bit of the story, the current story, I guess you could say, forward a little bit more. And I've got some theories as well as to what's going to happen next. Actually, I've got 2 theories that can come about, but we'll get into that in just a minute. So Fennec, of course, is a mod as well. She got saved by being brought to Mos Eisley mod dealer to put in some robotics into her body to save her, because that was the only thing Boba could afford at that point. He couldn't get her to a back to tank or anything like that. And we also see that Boba was basically scoping out Jabba's palace, and he just saw there's too many guards, so he couldn't take him out on his own. And once Fennec, of course, comes to after the surgery and everything like that, his deal is that if she helps him get his ship back, the fire spray, then all everything's good between them. That she doesn't owe him anything and whatnot. Easier said than done, of course. So they do break in. Anyone else notice Thundercat was the doctor? I don't know who Thundercat is. I just know it was some dude with dreads. I kind of figured he was some musician or something like that, because normally that's what's been happening is they've been hiring musicians for some of these things. So yeah, I don't know who he was. So of course they break into Jabba's palace. They're trying to do things quietly, of course. And I love the little the rat droid that they got. That's actually something from I want to say it was from the Clone Wars. It was from the animated Clone Wars series, and I'm glad to see it in live action. It was kind of cool. That was the little rat thing that he's holding up. He goes, "You know who I am? Boba Fett." And it's like, oh, and it turns itself off and whatnot. And so yeah, that was kind of a neat little aside thing. But he gets the fire spray back, because that's what it's called now. It's called the fire spray. Yes, I know it's not called Slave One anymore. It's called the fire spray. Um, and he decides to settle some debts at this point. He ends up going after the Kenton Raiders, who took out his Tusken clan, kills all of them, goes to the Sarlacc pit looking for his armor, because he can't remember, the Jawas actually strip him of the armor when he came out. And he has to kill the Sarlacc, or I should say Fennec has to kill the Sarlacc in order to for him to go down there and find out his armor's not there anymore. And yeah, so once that is all done and we find out that Fennec is actually going to stay by his side, even though her debt is fulfilled to him. We switch back over to now, I guess you could say, and Boba bringing in all the families of Mos Espa, who, of course, weren't siding with Bib Fortuna and they were under Jabba at one point, and they won't join him against the Pikes. And so he says, "Great, I'll do it on my own, but I just want you to know if the Pikes come to you, you're going to be neutral on it, right? Great." And at first they were like, "Well, what's to take? What's to stop us from killing you?" And of course, where they're eating is on top of the grate where the Rancor is, and the Rancor just makes itself known. And yeah, Raymond, they renamed that like almost a year ago now. So yeah, it's called the Fire Spray. That's the name of the ship design, but it's called the Fire Spray. Is what it's called now. Um, so of course he doesn't expect the crime families, of course, to adhere to the word, but hey, why not? So he decides to go into town, show his face. He says he needs to have a presence. So of course he goes over to Jennifer Beals' place. Garza is her name actually, and who's there but Chrysanthemum? And Chrysanthemum, of course, takes a Trandoshan and rips his arm off, of course, because that's what Wookiees do. And Boba actually hires him, brings him on as muscle for all of this, and he's building a family. He's building a tribe. As he tells Fennec that everyone needs a tribe, is what he says. So that is what he's going to do. Is he's actually trying to take out the person who hired him to work for Jabba, which is Gorsa, who we haven't seen yet, of course. So he wants to take his throne, which is the big throne at that point. And that's going to be an interesting. It was kind of a little throwaway line, but that is one of the big things that we've got now out of this series. Is he's shooting big on this one. He's not aiming low; he's actually aiming pretty high. But he needs to take care of the Pikes first, and of course, he needs an army for that. And Fennec says, "How much money do we have in the treasury? Because I think we need somebody." And as she says that, the Mandalorian music plays, if you didn't hear that. So of course, we're going to have the Mandalorian coming back. Yeah, and that's who she's going to hire. Plus, remember, Fennec also has ties to the Bad Batch. Um, you know, our Order 90, or what is it, Troop 99 or whatever they're called now. So she has those old guys that she can always rely on as well. And Omega, Boba's sister. So she knows all about Boba's sister as well. So there's that. But my theory on all of this is that once the Mandalorian comes in and he's got the dark saber, and Boba learns that whoever has the dark saber, whoever has control of the dark saber, controls Mandalore. That's going to be his next quest because, of course, everyone needs a tribe. And if he owns the black saber, or the dark saber, I should say, he becomes ruler of Mandalore. So that is I'm thinking that's what's going to set up season 3 of The Mandalorian. Is there are going to be multiple people that are going to be vying for control of the dark saber, and Boba's going to be one of them. So that's because we only have 2 episodes left of this. We have episodes 5 and episode 6, and that's it. So Raymond says your instinct is right. He is one of the best bass players of the new generation. Okay. I kind of figured he was a musician. So, yeah. So that's where we leave off. And like I said, it was a turn for the better on this. I saw someone else's name in the directing credits, but IMDb is trying to give Bryce Dallas Howard credit for directing this episode, which I don't think is right. Because I saw some guy's name in there, and I don't know who it was. So I don't know if maybe if she said, I don't want to have my name on there and just changed it or what's going on. But I'm fairly sure the next episode there's supposedly a rumored episode that is written and directed by Dave Filoni. And I'm sure that's going to be the next episode. Or it's the last episode. It's one of the two, of course, obviously. Raymond says, you don't think we'll get Dengar as well since they are buddies? I think Dengar, well, he could show up, but isn't he retired by now? He should be. I mean, he's about as old as Boba. So, yeah. Good. I mean, like I said, it moved the story along. I like the aspects of this. We see that there are a lot of mods across Tatooine, and they're mostly bored kids that are getting these implants, these robotic implants, and they're all riding, little Vespas, the candy-colored Vespa things. So, and they're all nice and clean too, for some reason. They don't look dusty like they've been out in the sands and whatnot. So, yeah. And also, the Rancor has bonded, of course, to Boba. So it's only a matter of time before we see Boba riding the Rancor, because that's what he wants to do. He wants to ride the Rancor. Ride the Rancor. It sounds like one of those energy drink commercials. Ride the Rancor. Yeah. Who doesn't want to ride the Rancor? You know. Or it could also be a drug euphemism as well. That's what happens when you take spice. You ride the Rancor. So, so yeah, those were my two theories. Was one that he is going to be a player for the Dark Saber, and two that Fennec Shan is going to bring in the Bad Batch, or at least Omega, Omega Fett, and get his sister, and then of course we have the tribe, if you will, of Boba Fett, because he's trying to build. From what it looks like, I mean, is he building his own crime syndicate? Is he building his own family? Is he what is he doing? What is he really doing? And that's it's kind of an interesting question on this one. This series is a very slow burn series. And yes, I know this one is actually getting more views than Hawkeye was. And of course, because it's Star Wars. So I mean it's Boba Fett. So of course it's going to get more views than Hawkeye would. Hawkeye still is a great series, by the way. If you haven't watched it, go and watch it. If you have Disney Plus, you can go and see it. Raymond says, would you ever get a cybernetic enhancement? If so, what? It depends. I mean, shit, when you get older, shit happens. So I mean, sure. Eyes, it could be better if you can actually have really good enhancement on the eyes and not look really funky with those, like the big disc that one kid had in this episode. I think that would be good. That would be kind of cool. I mean, my shoulder, I could, augment strength. Now, of course, if you have cybernetic enhancements where you're looking for super strength and all that, you need to actually do the entire skeleton, because there's no way you can actually lift up a car with just robotic arms. Kind of like $6 Million Man, where he's got the bionic arm and he lifts up the car. No, because that's still attached to flesh and bone, and that's going to rip right the fuck off of him when he lifts up the car, unless he has the skeletal structure to, attach that. Simple physics is really what it is. Raymond, you know this. It's simple physics. I mean, unless the entire skeletal structure is reinforced, super strength's not going to mean shit if you have it in just one arm or your legs or anything like that. So yeah. So good episode. Looking forward to the next two. And hopefully they clean this up and get it out there. And I'm sure we're going to see more Danny Trejo as well because we've got a Rancor to ride. You know. Mark says I haven't seen it. Dennis, was it good? Did it get better or even better? Just restart your review. Thanks, Marks. So as I was saying from the beginning, um, no, you can hit rewind. Man. So what else do I have going on the rest of this week? Well, funny you should ask. Tomorrow is going to be Peacemaker. Peacemaker. That's right, on HBO Max. Peacemaker. Friday I'm off. Saturday is gonna be Saturday morning blast off where I take the genre news of the weekend, any genre stuff you guys want to talk about, and we talk about it. Sunday will be another episode of spoiler alert. That's right, spoiler alert, where you guys want to talk about anything spoilerish, as long as it's not in the general public, we'll talk about it. Monday I'll be off. Tuesday is gonna be another episode of Is It Worth My Time? I know I didn't have one yesterday because I honestly I just took it off this weekend and you know, took it easy. So I didn't. We'll see what happens next week, and then Wednesday we roll back around again to the Book of Boba Fett. So there we go. Raymond says, "Laugh out loud." Fair point. That reminds me of when Homelander couldn't lift up the plane because there was nothing to push against. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I like about that is that real world physics. If you can use real world physics in your science fiction, or just real science in your science fiction as a reason as to why this happens. I mean, other than just being magical because oh, he's got superpower, so he can do this. It doesn't work that way. It really doesn't. Yeah, you need to actually have you know there's real world consequences to physics. So there was somebody I want to say it was back in like the 80s or the 90s that did the whole physics of like Spider-Man swinging on webs, uh Superman, any of the stuff that he does, basically any superheroes. It was actually I believe there's a book. Yeah, that's right. There's a book called The Physics of Superheroes. That's what it was. And it came out in the 90s if I remember correctly. And it's actually fairly good. It's not Mr. Wizard. No, there was an actual book about called The Physics of Superheroes. There's also another book called The Anatomy of Superheroes, which is another thing entirely. So, yeah. I almost pulled the trigger on buying it, I think, at one point, and I didn't, and now I'm kinda disappointed. I probably should have. So, and, yeah, it was the '90s on that one. Anyway, I digress. We're talking about the Book of Boba Fett here, and, at least there's no lightsabers that have come into all of this play or anything like that. At least not yet. We'll see a dark saber most likely in the next, episode or 2. So with that, I'm going to let you guys go for the night. Thank you to everybody who joined me tonight in the chat, and thank you for making it this far in the video. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, take a look at the video that pops up at the very end here. YouTube takes the algorithms of all the stuff you've been watching and tries to match it as best as possible. All those dirty, dirty videos you've been watching tries to match them as best as possible. One of the dirty videos in my vast video library pops up there just for you. And if you like what you see there, hit that subscribe button down below there. And if you can, hit that like button, the share button as well. And if you don't want to be notified by YouTube, hit that bell down below and they won't notify you at all when I come on live. So what you should do, go over to suspendedfanimation.com, take a look at the schedule up there. I change it every week. Also have all the links to my social media on there and all the links to my pages as well. So with that said, I'm going to let you guys go for the night. Thank you, everybody. I will see you again tomorrow for Peacemaker. Until then, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, you may have to let that bantha go that you've been riding because, let's face it, it's kind of smelly and it likes to lick things that it shouldn't. So, yeah, it's good to just let it go. Thanks, everybody. I will see you again tomorrow. Until then, stay safe, be well, take care. Wear those masks, get those vaccine shots, get those flu shots as well, and the boosters, for the vaccine and all that stuff, because that's all going to help. And I will see you again tomorrow. Stay safe out there and have a good night, everyone. Thanks, everyone. Good night.